Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Dad. Good morning, Jordan. Did you sleep well? Oh, yes, Mama. I sure did. I had a wonderful dream last night. I dreamt I was in a faraway land. It was full of tall grasses, large animals, and many gigantic castles. There were powerful kings, queens, and pharaohs as well. Everyone had lots of children who played and had fun all day. There were so many people, Mommy, hundreds, maybe even millions. They covered the land far and wide. That sounds like a wonderful dream, Jordan. How did it end? The ending wasn't that great. The people began to move away. Some even got taken away. Families were divided. The riches from the land were sold. And battles destroyed many of the native animals. The kings became greedy, selling some of their own people to other kings in faraway places. It was really sad. Where did everyone go? They went all over the world, north, south, east, and west. Wouldn't it be terrible if that really happened? I'm happy it was just a dream. However, I do think it would have been a great place to live before all the fighting began. I probably would have had a pet zebra or a baby anteater. I would have loved to live there instead of this old dusty house. What do you mean, this old dusty house? Child, this old house is our castle. It's where Grandma EI was born, I was born, you and your siblings were born here too. All of us were born right here in this living room with our doula. This house is filled with wonderful history, traditions, and family secrets. I know all that stuff, Mommy. But why don't I come from a place like in my dream? A place with kings and queens and a land full of riches. What if I told you I had the same dream when I was your age? And I asked my mom and dad the exact same question. You did? I sure did. I wanted to know why I wasn't born in the magical land just like you. What did EI and Baba tell you? Well, they didn't really tell me anything. They showed me who I am. They called me and my siblings into the family room and taught me all about my ancestors and the African Diaspora. Diaspora, what? That's a silly name. It's pronounced Diaspora. That silly name is going to answer all of your questions. So the African Diaspora is going to tell me why I was born here in the living room? Not just why you were born in the living room. It's going to teach you so much more. Go get your siblings and the big photo album under the Andrinka symbols. I want to show you what my parents showed me. It's time for you to find out who you are. Here it is, Mommy. I found it. Boy, this thing is really big and heavy. That's because it's filled with so much information about people who look like you and me. The people who were here a long time ago. Everyone sit down. It's time for you to know who you are and where you come from. Jordan, you said in your dream that it was a land filled with thousands of people, animals, and riches, right? Yes. Well, it is a land just like that. It's called Africa. Africa is where everything began. Nearly 100,000 years ago, Africa was filled with thousands of animals, glorious land, and lots of people. Some of them were even kings and queens. Just like in my dream, Africa is where everything began. So, although we now live here, we all came from Africa. Not just us, everyone in the world. But how can that be? We don't all look the same. We don't all talk the same. How can we all come from Africa? I'm going to get to that part very soon. But let's talk a little bit more about Africa. Africa is filled with wondrous dwellings that have been divided into smaller countries. One of the most well-known countries is Egypt. Egypt has been around for many years. It also has had many names. To the ancient Africans, Egypt was known as Kemet. This was a kingdom along the Nile River. However, it wasn't the only kingdom there. There were others along the same river. The Cush Tasseti, just to name a couple. Also, there were kings, queens, and pharaohs. Do you have any pictures? Let me see. Ah, here are some. This is King Tutankhamun, King Mentuhotep II, and Osmos Nefertari. Wow! Real African kings and queens? I didn't know they were black. In my dream, they had really dark skin, but I didn't know it was real. Hey, Daddy almost looks like King Tutankhamun. That's funny. But what do they have to do with the African diaspora? I'm getting to that right after I show you a picture of the Batwa people. Their ancestors were a part of ancient Egypt, and their descendants are still around today. Can you see that they are pretty short and have kinky hair? One person even looks like he has a bow and arrow on his head. Sure does. Let's turn the page and look at the next picture. Okay, Mommy. Earlier, I mentioned the African diaspora. Diaspora is a grown-up word for people moving from one place to another. Some move because they wanted to move. Others moved because they were forced out. The African diaspora is when many of the Africans moved to other parts of the world. This picture sort of shows what happens. You can see everyone started in Africa, then spread out to different continents. Excuse me for interrupting, but what does this have to do with who I am? Because Africa is the root. My root, your root, mankind root. It all started in Africa. Therefore, everywhere the ancestors migrated, you inadvertently migrated too. So what happened when they left Africa? Yeah, what happened when they left Africa? And what did they do, Mom? How did they live? That question brings us to the next picture of our history lesson. When ancient civilizations began to migrate out of Africa, some of them went to what we now know as Asia. Asia is made up of small islands and several large countries near and around the Indian Ocean. When they arrived, they formed different communities. Mom, do you mean the country where Jet Li is from? Jet Li is from China. China is a well-known country in Asia. I would like to show you people and places in Asia that are far less talked about. For example, when his very, very ancient ancestors arrived in Asia, they look very similar to the picture below. This man is from the Harawa community in the Andaman Islands in the Indian Ocean. Here's another picture of a woman from the Onge community in the Andaman Islands in the Indian Ocean. This is another great example of the migration period of the ancient Africans to Asia. Here was another descendant of the first people in Asia. This child is in the Philippines. This is an ancient child from Sri Lanka. Do any of you notice any differences in the physical appearances of the groups I've shown you so far? Yes, I do. One is really short and has very curly hair. The other group is bigger and their hair is straighter. You're absolutely correct. Great observations. There are so many different groups of ancient Africans who migrated to Asia. There is no way I can name them all today. I think that's enough for Asia. Please show us more of Asia. Yeah, Mom, show us more, please. All right. Just a little bit more on Asia. Then Daddy will tell you about the next place. Yay! The ancient Africans weren't just in the smaller islands. They spread all out over Asia. Some migrated to Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Cambodia, Vietnam, and so many more places. They built huge cities, amazing statues, and magnificent buildings. Here's the tomb of Bilal in Damascus, Syria. This is a city built by African people in the ancient Indus Valley in Pakistan. And finally, from the Bayon Temple in Angkor Thom, Cambodia, this is another statue. Look at his nose and lips. They look like my nose and my lips. They sure do, honey. I'm famous. My ancestors put my nose and my lips on a statue. I wouldn't exactly say you're famous, but I will say the African diaspora put little pieces of you and me all over the world. Next, Dad is going to show us the African presence in Europe. This is so exciting. I can't wait to see what I look like in Europe. Come sit on Baba's lap. I have so many pictures for this area. I really think you're going to enjoy this part the most. I hope so. This is cool. We're learning so much about ourselves. About 40,000 years ago, the ancient Africans migrated to Europe. They settled in a few different places. First, I will show you the African presence in Greece. Greece is a European country which sits just north of Egypt. Here are some artifacts from early Greece. This is a statue of Memnon. Memnon was an Ethiopian king. He was most famous for a battle in the Trojan War. He was a fierce warrior and a powerful leader. There were many monuments built in his honor throughout Greece. Some of his descendants lived in the United States. One is an actor. He has been in several action movies. Wow! Memnon looks like a superhero. I can't believe his descendants are alive and they still make movies. Man, oh man, this is great. We keep a statue of Memnon in the family room to remind the family to stay strong in times of battle. On the next page is an unknown Trojan warrior. Notice the hair, nose, and the lips. The picture appears to be a warrior of the Trojan War. It looks like he has twists in his hair. I would like twists in my hair like the ancient Africans in Europe. Next is the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was centered around the city in Rome. Rome is the capital of the country Italy. Here are some artifacts and photos from ancient Rome. There were so many wars during this time. which caused the Roman Empire to fall. When the Roman Empire fell, Europe went into a dark age. A new wave of northern Africans came into Europe to help those living in miserable conditions. The northern Africans were called Moors. Also, there were real king knights from this period. The most famous knight is Saint Maurice. He was born in Egypt. What happened to Saint Maurice's nose? Why is it cut off? A lot of black statues have the noses cut off. No one really knows why the noses are missing. The answers have never been recorded in history. There are statues of white men with their noses cut off as well. That's interesting. I would like to know what happened. Also during this time, art pieces called Black Madonnas became very popular in Europe. A Madonna is a woman who is defined as a perfect mother. The Black Madonna is always shown holding her son, and they are considered a sign of good luck. I bet all moms are good luck. That's right, we sure are blessings. Next, I'm going to tell you all about Australia. Wait. There were black people in Australia too? This is amazing. Absolutely. The next page has a map of Australia. There were many migrations to Australia in ancient times. They migrated from Africa to Asia, then Europe to Australia. These migrations took place over thousands of years and covered many thousands of miles. Australia was made up of many different groups of black people with different names. Today, they are known as the Aboriginal Australian, Indigenous Australians, and Black Australians. The Indigenous Australians are very protective of their culture due to colonization. They do not believe they came from any place outside of Australia. The children in Australia had so many toys. The most popular toys were the cross boomerang, spinning top, and propellers. The best part is they made their own toys. Boomerangs and spinning tops? That sure does sound like fun. The elders taught the children stories about the creation of the universe. The children had to remember them throughout their lives to pass on to the next generation. They called the stories sacred stories. They celebrated sacred stories and other spiritual rituals in sacred places found in nature. During the celebration, they painted their bodies with bright colors and designs. They also wore handmade jewelry made from things given to them by the earth, like plants, feathers, and nuts. They have lived this way for over 50,000 years. This is a child from Papua New Guinea. Check out his hair. Whoa, he kind of looks like me. Same eyes, bushy hair. This is neat. There's more. Below is a picture of a native Vanuatu elder. But I don't see any people with really dark skin like Uncle Pete. It's coming. Just be patient. Is a picture on the next page. Whoa! Someone whose skin is as dark as ours and they don't live near us? This is amazing. The world is filled with people just like us. It sure is, and we're not done yet. Here's a woman from New Zealand and her child. This picture was taken over 100 years ago, and I'm sure she was one of the first Africans in New Zealand. They are the most unique and distinctive people of the Pacific Islanders. There are many countless things I could go on and on about, But we must go on to the next and final area called the Americas. Let's look at a map and see exactly where the Americas are located. If you look closely, you will see the Americas are located on the western side of the world. The areas include North, Central, and South America. The first great civilization of this area was called the Olmecs. They were also known as the Rubber People. Their presence was most notable in the areas of the Gulf of Mexico, La Venta, Lorenzo, and Tres Zapates. Were the Olmecs a part of the African diaspora? Yes and no. Some historians believe several hundred Africans went to live among the Olmecs. The Africans introduced science, writing, agriculture, and engineering to the Olmec culture. The most interesting find among the Olmecs are the giant headstones. There are 17 large heads carved from basaltic stone. The faces and braids on the back of the stones look like African people. This is what they look like. Do you see the similarities between the African statues and the Olmec headstones? I can easily see they have the same lips, nose, eyes, and the same round head. The Olmecs era lasted to about 2000 BCE. They were replaced by the Mayans. Even the Mayans appear to have an African presence. Mansa Abukari II was the 9th Mansa of the Mali Empire. It is written, in the 1300s, Abukari stepped down from his throne to explore the world. He built more than 1,000 ships and sailed with many men and tons of supplies along the Atlantic Ocean. Although many history books state Europeans discovered America, the ancients knew it was the Africans' greatest explorer, Mansa Abukari, who explored America more than 200 years prior to the European voyage. Wait a minute. I thought Christopher Columbus discovered America. So all this time it was someone else? Unfortunately, yes. The Americas were never discovered. There were native people already living on the land. History books don't always give the exact truth. How is that fair? It's not fair. This is why we're taking the time to show you and the entire family our truth. Then you can take what I've shown you and tell others. I think that's a great idea, Mom. Let's continue. We're getting close to the end. To the right is a Mayan piece from Mexico. Below is a picture of what is believed to be a priest from Guatemala. Were the priests like the ones who are around today? Most priests practice healing, meditation, and helping others, but not the way that is done today. Ancient African priests rarely took money for services. They accepted cowrie shells and tree butter. They didn't have websites and TV shows. They were more connected with the people. Over time, spirituality became corrupt, along with the priests and their practices. The movement and presence of the ancient Africans in the Americas continued for thousands of years. However, with all the wonderful things that were taking place, there was something that which caused tremendous despair. Most Africans called it Mafa, but it's most commonly known as the transatlantic slave trade. Families were torn apart, mothers taken from their children. Many did not survive. after thousands of years, the African presence began to change in America. At first, the Native Americans greeted the Spanish settlers and welcomed them. However, once they were held captive, they resisted enslavement. Below is a picture of the Maroons of Jamaica greeting the Spanish settlers. In 1509, Spaniards settled in Jamaica. The Spaniards had 558 enslaved Africans with them. In 1655, the British attacked the settlement, and many of the enslaved Africans escaped to the mountains. They were given the name Maroon. They were organized and skilled at fighting in mountain areas. The two main groups among the Maroons were called the Leeward and the Windward. The most memorable figures were Captain Cudjoe and Queen Nanny. Queen Nanny was known as the mother of all Jamaicans. She is a national hero. She led the Maroons through resistance against the British and organized and led fighting campaigns. For over 150 years, the Maroons helped free enslaved Africans from the European plantations. In another nearby island of the Americas, there were more resistance. The small island of Haiti was home to thousands of slaves brought over from Africa during Mafa by the Europeans. For 13 years, they fought for their freedom with many strong men leading them in battle. Toussaint L'Ouverture and Jean Jacques led them in the fight to end slavery. With his help, they stood against their former master and declared independence, taking control of the island in the first fierce and brutal struggle. They defeated the three great empires of the century, which were Spain, England, and France. The Haitians became the first African free people of the Americas. In the United States, enslaved Africans were finding ways to get out of slavery as well. Harriet Tubman, enslaved since her birth in 1823, led over 300 black men and women to freedom using what is called the Underground Railroad. She led many missions during the night to free slaves. She never got caught. She never lost anyone along the journey. 300? That's a lot of people, Mom. Hey, who's that guy right there? This is Marcus Garvey. He organized the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Community League. The organization was designed to create pride, unity, and jobs for Africans in North and Central America. He created the UNIA in his home country of Jamaica, but he later collaborated with many important people in the United States, where his organization spread. I think it's so neat that so many people wanted to help black people all over the world. Then I get sad because it seems so many black people around the world are still fighting. A different fight, but still fighting. It is sad, Jordan. Many people are still fighting. And it's not just other races fighting one another. It's also within the African American race. It's my belief the cause for much of this fighting amongst African Americans is because African history isn't well known. I don't understand. How can just knowing what a few people did many years ago stop fighting? I'm not sure if you're old enough to understand. Understand what? Empowerment. Empowerment? Yes. Can you try to explain it to me? Okay, I will try. Let me start with a few examples. How did it feel when you first learned to tie your shoes? It felt great. I was so happy because I finally got it. I was proud of myself. Now, how do you feel when you know mommy and daddy have great jobs and are able to do things for the family? It makes me feel like I have a good family and I'm proud of both of you. I especially feel like growing up and getting a good job like you and daddy so that I can take care of the family too. Being proud and wanting to follow in our footsteps is similar to empowerment. Oh, I see. What if your great grandparents were royalty? Would you be able to imagine that? Having grandparents who wore the title king and queen? How does that make you feel? That makes me feel great. It makes me feel like I'm special. Like maybe I should grow up and do important things, like become president of the entire world. What if everyone knew the great accomplishments of their ancestors, where they came from, and how they did? What if everyone who looked like you and I knew true history, the accomplishments as well as the struggles? Since I never heard of a black king or queen before today, I guess everyone would be just as surprised and happy as me. They probably would want to be president of the world too. I don't know about being the president of the world, but I do believe it would help African Americans feel better about themselves and where they come from. I believe it can instill pride and unity in the African culture, which is my culture, your culture, everyone's culture. I'm so glad you showed us our family photo album. I'm happy you all enjoyed it. I learned so much today. My favorite part was learning there are black people all over the world who look just like me, and we all come from the same place. After today, I want all of you to make me and Daddy a promise. Promise us that you will take what you've learned and share it with your friends, teachers, or anyone else you feel like sharing with so they can feel empowered just like you. Can you do that for us? Absolutely. Great. This officially ends our trip around the world. Let's enjoy the rest of our day. All right, boys and girls, thank you for joining us again on the magic carpet. I hope you enjoyed the story. I really hope you enjoyed the illustrations. And don't forget, this is Acacia Readers, including stories that resemble you. Until next time.